You've been lied to. They told you life was about happiness, comfort, balance, being enough. But deep down, you know something's off. The joy feels fake, the balance feels boring, and being enough feels like a cage made of compliments. You don't need another morning routine. You need a fire. Enter Nietzsche, not the emoji version, not the edgy Pinterest quotes, the real one, the wild-eyed whisperer who says, if you're suffering, good. You've been chosen to rise. He doesn't want you to be happy. He wants you to be free, brutally alive, unapologetically awake. So no, this isn't self-help. This is self-rebellion. 6 infernal lessons pulled from the abyss to help you stop crawling like a mollusk and maybe, just maybe, become a god. Are you ready? Good. Let's walk through the fire. You were taught to flinch at pain, to treat it like an enemy, numb it, flee it, dress it up as failure. But Nietzsche, he saw pain as the price of awakening. To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. That's not a fortune cookie, that's a roadmap. Suffering isn't proof that something's wrong, it's proof that something real is happening. It strips you down, peels off the performance and forces you to meet yourself raw. Pain is pressure that turns coal into clarity. No struggle, no shape, no ache, no edge. The heartbreak, the anxiety, the sleepless nights, they're not distractions, they're sculptors. You don't become steel by bathing in ease. You become steel by standing in fire and not begging to be saved. The world wants you safe. Nietzsche wants you sharp. Not safe from pain, but sharp because of it. Your life begins the moment you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this making of me? You're not here to avoid the furnace. You're here to survive it. Then rise. Burnt, yes, but beautiful. Not collapsed, but carved. Suffering doesn't make you holy. What you do with it might. But surviving isn't enough. Nietzsche doesn't stop at endurance. He wants ignition. Once the pain has stripped you down, the real question begins. Will you rot in resentment, or will you rise into power? Will you let the fire consume you, or will you use it to forge something no one can ignore? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about action. Reaction is cheap. It costs nothing. It takes no courage. Someone offends you. You post. Someone challenges you. You sulk. Life punches. You complain. That's the reflex of someone who's forgotten their power. Nietzsche didn't want you passive. He wanted you to choose, to act, not react, to create, not crumble. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. And why is something you build, not something that happens to you. Resentment is your enemy. Nietzsche called it the poison of the weak, the slow-dripping acid of victimhood. It's what happens when you refuse to fight and instead cling to blame. You stew, you wait, you rot, but you don't rise. Power isn't found in pointing fingers. It's found in planting flags, in making something, a word, a work, a world that wasn't there before. To act is to affirm. Even in the face of chaos, pain, injustice, it's saying, this hit me, but it won't define me. When you create, you take control of the story. You stop living inside someone else's wound. You write your own sentence, in blood if you have to. That's where your strength starts, not in shouting back, but in building something that silences everything else. So look at your life. Are you reacting or are you composing? Are you repeating the same defensive dance or are you inventing your next move? Creation is risk. It's vulnerable. It's exposed. But Nietzsche says that's where your fire belongs. Stop being a mirror, be the match. So you've stopped reacting. You're creating now, not from panic, but from power. Good. Nietzsche would nod. Once, maybe. But then he'd raise an eyebrow and ask, how's your body? Because all that strength, that will, that clarity you're trying to summon, it doesn't live in your head. It lives in your legs, in your breath, in your spine. Let's talk about motion. Let's talk about how to think with your feet. Your anxiety, it might not be deep, it might just be still. Nietzsche knew that stagnation poisons the soul. When you stop moving, your thoughts loop. Your body collapses into itself. And suddenly, what felt like a minor doubt becomes an existential crisis. But when you move, something shifts. Your mind clears, not because you solved anything, but because your legs remembered what your brain forgot. You're an animal, not a machine. Nietzsche was chronically ill, stuck in bed, vision blurred. But when he could walk, he did, for hours. And he noticed something profound. His best ideas didn't come from sitting and thinking. They came from rhythm, from steps, from the wind on his face and the ache in his spine. That's why he wrote, "All truly great thoughts are conceived while walking." Not metaphor, truth. We treat movement like maintenance, a way to burn calories or check a wellness box. But Nietzsche saw it as sacred. Movement is thought. Muscles think, breath thinks, sweat clarifies. The more you inhabit your body, the less you're trapped inside your head. Stillness, when chosen, is meditation. Stillness, when forced, is a cage. So when your thoughts turn toxic, don't argue with them. Walk. Let your spine straighten before your story does. Nietzsche didn't want you to escape your body. He wanted you to return to it fully. Because sometimes the fastest way to change your mind is to use your legs. But walking is just the beginning, because once you're in motion, life will push back, people will challenge you, the world will test your center. And in those moments, will you react loud or will you stand silent? Let's talk about real strength, the kind that doesn't need to shout. You've been taught that power means noise, that to matter you need to be seen, heard, followed. But Nietzsche knew, most noise is fear with a megaphone. True strength doesn't shout. It stands still, it listens, it moves without warning, it doesn't seek the spotlight, it bends the room without touching it. Nietzsche's Übermensch isn't a loud warrior, it's someone who has faced their chaos and walked through it without needing applause. The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. That's real power, not in domination but in detachment, in not needing to be understood, liked, or even seen. The strong aren't trying to win the game, they've rewritten the rules. Noise is often a performance, a show we put on to convince ourselves we're in control. But the strongest presence in any room is the one that doesn't beg for attention. It radiates something quieter, heavier, gravity. You don't notice it at first, but once you feel it, it doesn't leave. Look at your own life. Are you performing strength or living it? Are you posting, proving, preaching, or are you becoming something so aligned that your presence speaks before you do? Nietzsche didn't want you loud. He wanted you precise, like a blade that doesn't tremble. It cuts. But silence isn't the end. Once the shouting fades, something deeper surfaces, not from others, but from within. Chaos, shadow, the primal storm you've tried to bury. Nietzsche believed this wasn't your enemy. It was your origin, not a threat, but a womb. And if you're ready, it's time to go in. Let's talk about the kind of chaos that gives birth to stars. We spend our lives running from chaos. We label it dysfunction, trauma, weakness. We try to fix it, tame it, numb it. But Nietzsche didn't flinch. He saw chaos as sacred, not a breakdown, but a birthplace. One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. The goal isn't order. The goal is transformation. Chaos isn't a threat, it's raw energy, too wild to be named. It's grief before the story, rage before the words. It's everything you buried when the world told you to behave. Most people repress it. Nietzsche says don't, hold it, feel it, shape it. If you do, you won't just survive, you'll create. Article purpose, power. You'll become the kind of person whose scars glow. We've been taught to fear our darkness, to hide it behind positivity and performance. But your shadow isn't your flaw, it's your fuel. The parts of you that feel too much, burn too bright, want too deeply. They're not weaknesses, they're untrained magic. The secret is not to deny them, it's to direct them. Through action, through art, through a life that refuses to play small. So the next time life falls apart, don't fix it too fast. Don't rush back to normal. Sit in the storm, let it rearrange you. Something fierce is forming inside that chaos. Something real. Nietzsche didn't want you polished, he wanted you powerful, and sometimes the soul only sharpens in the dark. But even stars lose their way. Even after the chaos gives birth to something brilliant, doubt creeps back in. Not the kind that screams, the kind that whispers, "Am I really allowed to be this?" That's the final test, not to shine louder, but to become who you truly are. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about becoming. Of all Nietzsche's lessons, this one sounds the simplest and cuts the deepest. Become who you are. Just 5 words. But behind them, a lifetime of unlearning. You think you know yourself, but most of who you are was handed to you, told to you, rewarded into you. And somewhere along the way, your truth got buried beneath your adaptation. You were taught to please, to succeed, to fit. You became a reflection of parents, friends, culture, algorithms. And every time your soul spoke up, you told it, not now. Nietzsche wants you to stop postponing. He doesn't want the version of you that performs. He wants the version that burns, the one that existed before you learned how to be acceptable. Becoming who you are isn't soft work. It means disappointing people who liked the old you. It means being misunderstood, underestimated, maybe even alone for a while. But it's the price of truth. You stop trying to be inspiring. You start trying to be exact. You stop chasing authenticity and start becoming unavoidable. And here's the twist. Who you are isn't static. You're not a fixed identity waiting to be discovered like a hidden object. You're a pattern, a becoming, a rhythm that refines itself through choice, through pain, through chaos, motion, silence. Nietzsche's not telling you to find yourself. He's daring you to create yourself over and over until there's nothing false left. So here's your final task. Stop imitating, stop pretending, stop negotiating with your own fire. You don't need a brand, you need a backbone. You don't need more goals, you need a home inside your own name. Nietzsche's final invitation isn't to climb higher, it's to stand truer, become who you are, before the world decides for you. What hit you the hardest? The fire, the silence, the chaos? Drop it in the comments. Nietzsche might have mocked the scroll, but he lived for the debate. You came here looking for answers, maybe healing. What you found was something better, a mirror. Cracked, maybe, but honest. Nietzsche didn't offer comfort. He offered confrontation, with pain, with chaos, with yourself. Not to break you, but to reveal you. 6 infernal lessons, not to follow, but to ignite. Suffer on purpose, create without permission, move like your life depends on it. Speak less, feel more, dance with your darkness, and above all, become what only you can be. This kind of transformation doesn't trend. It happens in silence, when no one's watching, when you choose truth over applause, meaning over safety. You won't get a certificate. You'll get your soul back. So now you know the path. It's not straight, it's not pretty, but it's yours. Walk through the fire, and don't look back. If this hit you somewhere between the ribs and the stars, like, comment, and share it with that one friend who spiritualizes everything but still cries when their phone dies. And yes, subscribe. Not because it makes sense, but because neither does life.